Hi everybody on Hangouts. I guess no one's watching it, but we're doing a class on Rails and using Sidekiq with Rails. So I'm gonna switch to my screen and continue the class with everyone here at RailsSchool. Wait, it's still there. Okay, so we'll do like quick introductions, 7 of 5. So we have Javier, recurring trooper. Comes to lots of RailsSchool classes. I've also seen you in class, I think. Do you want to give a little bit of background or?
Yeah, so this is Andrew. I went to the camp in Silicon Valley last year and a half ago. Kind of transitioned from sales and marketing job to now to software development. So been there for a year. We did a lot of RailsSchool.
Cool. What's your name?
My name is Wilson. My background's in finance. Spent 5 years in finance. I played last year to work on technology.
Cool. So now you're learning how to code for that?
I coded up most of it. I was interested in Sidekiq. I saw using Rails and Postgres when I'm back then.
Cool.
And front end is all like game.
That makes sense. Cool. So let's see. We're basically going to have to do an HTTP request to use this API, or we could use the gem. Do you guys have a preference? Let's look at the gem.
I'm interested in learning how to use HTTP.
Okay, we can do that. If we don't have too much trouble with it, we can just stick to that. So they have like a list of things you can get. So let's start off by creating like a basic Rails app. So I'm just gonna open a folder and call it maybe like Railstagram or something. So I'm going to do Rails new Railstagram. Oh, and do a git init. Oops, not there. And then I'm just gonna make a home controller, like nothing too complicated. So I'm gonna make a new file. So no, we're not gonna do any Rails generate commands. So we'll make it look like something like this. Home controller.rb. Everyone following? And here I'm just gonna do like a def home. Maybe index actually. I'm going to go to my routes file and root home index. And I'm going to start a new tab and do Rails S. Oh, I never made a template. Is everyone with me so far? So I'm going to make a home folder. Oh, not in layouts, in views. Man. And in it, I'm going to make another file and call it index.html.erb and just write hello world in it. So all of that works fine. So now maybe we want to like show Instagram pictures here. So let's use the API to show pictures. So in the controller, we don't need to kind of input anything yet, just need to output something from the Instagram API. So maybe we could have we could look at recent media, maybe like recent, oh, we could search stuff. So we could search for users. Let's search for hashtags. I don't know what different, oh, okay.
Right.
It lets me search by latitude and longitude.
Well, but I think you have to search by tags. I don't just search, but there's also tags. Search.
Oh, here?
You have tags. Tag search. I think that's probably down. I think that would be it.
Okay. Okay, let's search snow. Bad request. Oh. Let's authorize it. This is just like a kind of something we can play with. Are we still at tag search? Okay, good. Snow, send. Cool, and we got this result. And it sent how many images there are with snow, but I guess it didn't send the images. Right? That seems like all of the response. So maybe we can do.
Do you have to have it with the hashtag before the thing? Hashtags still relevant, so I think it's you have to have a hashtag.
Oh wait, this got to self-feed. Let's try this. No, I don't think it needs the hashtag. Got an error this time. But if I do no hashtag, I get a 200. Type image. Seems like I got a lot of images. Okay, let's stick with this one. So this is the HTTP request we made. So now I'm just gonna like Google how would I make an HTTP request in Rails, okay? So HTTP request Rails. Oh, have you guys been to the HTTP party class? There was a class that I think Michael taught on this gem. Let's use this gem. So there's this gem called HTTP party without the extra P. So let's add that to our app. In the gem file. I feel like there should be quotes here. Oh, I see, because it's gem install. I added the gem HTTP party and I did a bundle install. I think I can just use this. So I copied the code from the examples. And I'm gonna put it in my controller. And instead of puts, I'm just gonna say response. Make this an instance variable. And I'm gonna change this API to my So I copied this whole big URL. I don't know what all is in there right now. I'll probably need to delete some things. Like I'm pretty sure I don't need this ending bit. And I probably want to add a Instagram.com. Let's try it in our web browser quickly just to make sure. Maybe we need like an API.instagram.com. Let's ask Instagram what I'm supposed to do.
Did you get results? Oh, you did get results.
Oops. So go back to Sublime, copy this again, starting from V1. Were you guys able to access it? Oh, cool, that worked. It's a really long request and like, I guess, response to the request. It just needed to be HTTPS, I think, guys. So do you want me to put this URL in the Etherpad?
Yeah.
So this already has my key, access token and key, or just access token, I guess. So let's see if our response shows up. Okay, it doesn't know what HTTP party is. I think that's probably because I didn't do like a require.
Included.
Yeah, I didn't do an include. Let's do that. Let's restart our server to make sure it's not that kind of a bug.
What did you put in your view?
All I put was at response. Actually, this isn't Haml, so it's gonna be. Is that right? Okay. So I think I shut down my server. I'm gonna restart it. There we go, it worked. So I just need to restart my server. Look at all this Chinese over here. I think it's Chinese. We actually really only care about the, like, let's look at like the first few images, right? Let's play around with this response in console. I'm going to do the same thing I did in the controller and include HTTP party. Make sure I got it. And then do that same request. I won't make it an instance variable because I don't. Do you see how long it takes? That's the lag that our users are going to face. And if you're an app like Facebook or something, if there's enough API requests happening, then that's like, it's going to be too slow for the user. So let's look at response. I know, there's so much here. Next URL. This seems like a photo. No, wait, that's the next.
This is what I keep getting when you do like API stuff. You do like this is seller. Next one is.
Did you guys get that error too, or are you guys getting the results? You are?
Yeah, I think that's unique to Windows.
Should we Google it? Yeah.
I should Google it. Stuff.
Oh.
It's okay. I'll
Do you want to
watch.
use another API? Like,
No,
something
I
else?
have it with Flickr too, so I think
Oh,
it's
same
like
thing.
it's like one of those things that's trying to access the API.
okay.
No worries. I'll just pay attention next time I'll fix it.
Okay, I wonder, we could come up with something that you can do instead. Maybe you could like have some.
Cool. I mean, it's fine if you use API.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to learn how to use API. So.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So I don't know what is all here. Let's just look at 0. Okay, that doesn't work. Yeah, it's a JSON object. This is the link we need, right? I think this is what we need. Maybe we can get the keys. Okay, response pagination dot keys. We can do response. Can you guys see this, by the way? Make it bigger. Bless you. And then I don't know.
Standard resolution.
So we had next URL. It has all this stuff, and then it has data. We want data. I don't know. I don't think this will be a thing.
Are you trying to find the natural order?
Oh, I see. Okay. So we were supposed to go into data over here. So if we go response, instead of pagination, which we don't really care about right now, this is the data. And then I think we could look at keys here. I guess not. So this is the first image. So we'll basically do for image and response data. Let's make this the response and then do we can try doing this. So we'll make images array and do a little loop for image in so we have our images. Got it? And here maybe we can, in our view, display images. Get rid of our equal. I don't know how to show an image from a URL in Rails. So let's look that up. Oh, really? Oh, we could, yeah, we don't have to even do Rails. Like that? Oh, got it. Should I have it in quotes? I can't remember if it's in quotes. I don't use HTML enough. Image tag, let's just make sure. Okay, let's specify a height and width and no quotes. But here we need to actually specify the URL from Rails. So let's create an image tag from Rails. Maybe this will work. So image tag, and then here do image dot, and then let's figure out images 0. Oops. So we want link. Right? So in this case, we already have images, the 0th element of images, because we're looping through it. So we just do the URL link. Does that make sense? Let's hope that works. And then end our for loop. We probably do need to specify size, but let's see what happens first. All right, we have a bunch of images. And if we click on them, let's make sure they go to an image. And they do. Actually, let's look at this again. Let's make sure. What'd you say?
It's not. Or no, the link is the image.
This, interpolate this.
Yeah, the link.
It looks like the link is there though, right? Yeah, because it created a bunch of image tags with source being the right thing. So maybe we can try like giving it a size. Because we can also just try playing around with one. Like I can copy this. Right, and say alt was anything. And then like width equals 42. I don't think I need pixels. We can try various things to see if it shows up. Sorry for I have phone and like view on. What my console is saying is resource interpreted as image but transferred with text HTML. Okay. Let's do the most basic HTML image tag. That seems like what we did. Okay, let's look up this error. I think Instagram, when you like search in the API, I think they've actually probably might have blocked like someone just taking the image. Because I remember doing like I tried to get my images. So I did user self feed. And the URLs I got were they looked to be their like CDN or something. Like this URL. Yeah, like I think if you put, here, let's try this. We'll put the same exact thing, but this like URL that seems to go to their CDN or / like their server, like kind of their Amazon S3 where they store these images. Yeah, okay, it showed up. So basically what we need to do is get a different kind of URL. Let's see where I got it in the API. It was under images, then thumbnail. Did we see anything like thumbnail? Oh, we see images though. Oh, why don't we take the low resolution one? Because thumbnail, I would guess, is smaller than the low resolution one. Oh, no, there's a URL. Hold on, let's see. .keys. Standard resolution. And the reason why I had a hunch that it was a problem with the API URL is because when I went to it, I didn't get just the image. I got like all this stuff that's Instagram. So if I was trying to just access the URL for the image, usually it's just the image. So standard resolution URL. That's what we need. So we'll put that here. And then see how it looks. Look at all these pictures of snow, guys.
I think that the Instagram API will have better docs and like even access like examples.
I think maybe I just went to the wrong page. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I haven't explored it well enough. So let's get rid of Hello World because now we just care about these images. Okay, now is the meat of the class where we actually use Sidekiq. And we can have fun with this and maybe like input something that we want to search, but let's do that at the end. So we're searching for snow, we're getting the images, putting that into this instance variable, sending that instance variable over to our view and looping through it and just showing it. So the slowest part happens here when we first get the like response. So what we can do is use Sidekiq for this. So let's look up the Sidekiq gem. This is somewhat of a bad example because the user has nothing else to see other than the images after they do like this page refresh, but so this is the Sidekiq gem. I'll put the link on the Etherpad. So this is how to install it. So I'm just going to do a gem install Sidekiq. Let's go to our gem file and add it. And then hold on, let me just look up. Okay. And then I'm going to do a bundle install. So I'm going to exit console. It seems like they want you to just go to their website and read about it. So I clicked on the Sidekiq wiki, and I'm going to click getting started. Okay, so I added Sidekiq to the gem file, and then add a worker into this folder. So I'm basically going to add this folder called workers in app. So right on this level with the app, do a new folder. And here it is. And in the worker, I'm going to make a new file. And the example they give is hard worker. We'll call it Instagram worker. And then just to get my syntax coloring, I'm going to save it as, I think it's just instagramworker.rb. So I'm going to include Sidekiq worker. And every worker has a perform method. That's basically like, tell me what this worker should do. So if you want it to perform multiple things and name it differently, you should just add multiple workers that do different things.
Can you just have one worker with many different functions?
You can have it do a set of things in the perform function, but when a worker is called, whatever's in the perform is called. So you can't have like 10 performs. There's just one perform method within a worker class.
Why did you do Sidekiq called inst worker, not just worker?
Oh, sorry. That was my bad. Thanks. So let's leave it commented for now and read more. So I can send like a async request to the worker, and the worker can do a bunch of stuff. So here, like I specify like a variable that I want to send to the worker. Maybe here we can say what we want the worker to search. So like query maybe. And here we can include HTTP party and kind of move our logic over. Shoot, where did it go? Here we go. And put our query maybe here. So to put like something into a Ruby string, we have to make it double quotes to interpolate the string. And this is where our query is going to go, where our tag was, our snow one. Usually it's a different color. Make sure. Okay, that's right. So we did that. So let's go back to our documentation. So how do we call this worker? This is what we do. So in our case, we would go to the home controller and call our Instagram worker and search snow. And it's cool because you can do like, hey, do this in 5 minutes, do something with the current user or something like that. Start Sidekiq from the root of your application so that the message will be processed. So let's do that. Uh-oh. Oh, it couldn't connect to Redis. So this is a very important piece of information. When you use Sidekiq, I mentioned that it actually uses a different server. That server is Redis. So I basically did a brew install Redis to install Redis onto my computer. And if you guys are following along, you guys should do the same thing. And then I think it's Redis start or something to start the Redis server. I'm just searching what I've called it in the past. I think I just write Redis server. So that started my Redis server. So it's basically running in this other tab. And then I'm going to try to do bundle exec Sidekiq again. Okay, everything seems to be working fine. So let's have response equal to that. And then maybe make that an instance variable for now. And in our view, since response may not immediately exist, right, because it takes time for it to serve up, we could do if response and tab everything in there. So how did we exactly add this to the response data, right? For image and response data. well, actually, let's just say if response, then okay. Let's try that. I probably should restart my server. Okay, uninitialized constant Instagram worker. Let's see what this has to say about that. Maybe we should restart our server. I always am lazy about doing that. So, and make sure we spelled it correctly. Maybe I didn't name it with the proper casing. Let's add an underscore and restart the server. Maybe I should do if response.present. Because it's basically saying the error is undefined method each for nil class when it's at line 2. So it basically can't go through each of the data items in response when response is empty. So if we like make sure it's present, then it won't try to do that. Okay, hold on, let me try to make a picture. So maybe it took a while. Okay, let's see what's happening. Oh, our server's saying a bunch of stuff. Oh, it's just getting. Might be worth like adding a breakpoint to our code to see what's happening. Actually, I'm also going to pull up the RailsCast and look at the, basically they have notes. So they did a brew install Redis. They did a bundle exec Sidekiq. They installed Sinatra, which is to like show this like big view, web view of how Sidekiq's working in the background. They did a perform async. And this is what they put in the perform async. Maybe we need to specify that the queue is high, but I doubt that. I kind of want to know what was in their controller. Here's their source code. Okay. So here we go. They did the perform async, and then they redirected to snippet. I think the thing that their async thing did was save to the database. So if we go to workers, it basically updated the database. So if I were to hit refresh, what I had in the database would update. But what we're doing is trying to update an instance variable, which won't update automatically after the Sidekiq has done its job. So maybe we can like store something to a database and then update the image associated with it with Sidekiq. So let's create maybe a resource. And let's call it image. Well, Instagram image. So that created a model for us and created a migration for us. So we can have maybe like an image URL associated with it. I think it's something like that. Let's make sure. I'm searching create table. So t.string, and then I need it to be a symbol. And it's already called images, so I'm just going to add URL. And then I'll do a rake db migrate. So you can imagine like in cases where a user's logging in for the first time, then and an email is asynchronously sent, then it's like completely okay for the user to not immediately see like the result of that asynchronous behavior, right? Whereas in our case, we kind of wedged ourselves into a hole because we needed to see that image. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I think when it's like you're going from the code process, you're like going to update something.
Yeah, like update an attribute in the background. So now we have like all these Instagram images.
Make like a profile, like make a picture, like say, like when like before like it's saved, like that's I mean that's what the site is supposed to do, right? Usually it's just supposed to like just in the back, just go ahead and
yeah, like maybe this image that we're showing is like a profile picture, and maybe we can start off with it showing like a you know, like one of those gray faces, and then it update to like my picture.
Yeah.
We could do something like that.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So let's look up a like gray image, person profile. Oh, like this. Okay. So I'm going to view this image. And I'm going to open console and just create an image. Instagram image. Oops, needed quotes. Instagram image dot create URL. Okay, so in my controller, I'm just gonna pass image equals like the first Instagram image, okay? And I'm gonna also have the Instagram worker be called and search for maybe like my user profile, okay, which is Nihu. So we'll probably change which API we go to here. So I'm gonna go back to Instagram, not this one, and I'm going to maybe do self, get like the information for myself. And I get this profile picture. Okay, so that's my profile picture, that's right. So this is the request. It's from here to here. I have 2 slashes. Oh, I don't even need to supply it with what my username is because it gets it for self based on my client ID. So there goes that. And then we'll have the worker look at this response. Let's just do it in console like we did. I always find it really easy to know what I'm doing through console. You guys following? So I'm including HTTP party. And then I'm going to do this. Response equals so we'll do response dot and get the data. Then do profile picture. Okay, and then we'll do Instagram image dot first dot update attribute. I think it's something like, let's look at this code again. So we'll call it okay, and let's see if that works. Oh, I never updated the view. So now we just need to show the image tag. And in our controller, we already specified what image it is. So it'll just be at image.url. So now if I refresh, let's see if Sidekiq comes up with, oh no. Let's see if it had any problems. I guess we should do a image equals image.find ID, or here they like specified image ID. And then they did oh, sorry, not here. We'll need this in the worker. And we'll provide an image ID of 1. And then in the worker, get the image. And then do this. Let's see if that works. I think I do need to restart Redis if I change the worker.
Ready the same as ready Rails server as well.
Sidekiq, yeah, you do need to restart Sidekiq, I think, when you change the workers, I believe. There seems to be some error with it, though.
Can I see the code on the worker?
That's one error. I was supposed to... No, I don't think I do.
That's okay.
Where is that Instagram image class? Where do you get that?
I feel like it should be able to access models from workers.
You have a model that's Instagram image?
Yes, yeah. And here, like, they have...
Do you have to update the image instance variable to the image that you set in the workers variable?
No, because my image instance variable, like if I were to refresh, gets the first item in the database again. I can do something like this. Let's try it. I just restarted. So I'm going to restart again because I think I had that Instagram image. I called it image instead of Instagram image. Okay, I don't have any errors yet, which is a good sign. And my server is running.
So how does it know to update to like the images that were fetched rather than the image that were calling the controller?
So the controller, I'm in all cases, I'm referring to the first image in our database. So in our home controller, I specified that I want to update the first image.
Do you have your view? Are you switching directly on your view to that image?
My view is based on this.
Can I see your view super quick?
Yeah. So currently in my console, for example, if I do Rails console.
Oh, did you set that image as image 1?
Yeah. So for my first Instagram image at first, right now it's like this basic profile.
And then you update image 1 in your database through the worker, is that right?
Yeah. So if the image changes to my profile picture, the worker has worked. So let's see what error our Sidekiq worker is seeing. So here's the error here. So it's not going to be in my Rails logs. It's going to be in my Sidekiq logs. So all I really understand is that I just get a start fail. Oh, I have a wrong number of arguments, 1 for 0. Here we go. What'd you say? Yeah, this is the error. Let's go to our worker. This is the problem. So I already supplied it with the image ID, which was 1, but I never required it in my method. So let's try again. I'm gonna restart Sidekiq, restart my server. It worked. Yay. Sorry guys for all the troubleshooting. So basically, I didn't need my image to update immediately. So as a user, I don't have to wait for my image to come from Instagram because that's not necessarily something I care about in a given application. But later on, it can just update whenever the worker's done completing. So this is a great way to grab gravatars for people in your application, or send emails, or I don't know. The case that we actually use it in the RailsSchool website. You guys want to see how we use it there? So we have set up this thing to give you badges. So if I go to my profile, I have these badges. I have the 49er badge, which is for users who attended the first 16 lessons in San Francisco. I guess only 3 of us got that. I have the Code Warrior badge for having completed 5 Code Wars exercises. And I have the teacher badge, and there's a bunch of people that have the teacher badge. So this is to encourage you guys to do Code Warriors, Code Wars, I guess. So basically, we can't have our application that's running RailsSchool check all the time to see whether or not you completed 5 Code Wars. So we do that in a worker using Sidekiq. So RailsSchool source code is open source, so anyone can see it. So I just went to the bottom right, and then you'll see we have in app this folder for workers. And we have something that gives people badges on a periodic basis, and we have something that checks what Code Wars people have completed on a periodic basis. Both are things that are not time sensitive for anyone visiting the website, but we do want to check over time, all the time, So the badge allocator takes a user ID with their attendances, which is the classes that they went to, and their badges. And then for each badge, they check if the user has that badge. And if the user already has that badge, then it doesn't do anything else, because it's I don't need to check if I should give this user the badge if they already have it. But if they haven't, it checks if it should allocate that badge to the user with this line. And it creates the badge if it should. So this is a method that we made elsewhere. And if the user is subscribed to getting notifications about badges, then we send him an email. And that's it. So that's happening completely asynchronously to RailsSchool running on a regular basis, and it doesn't slow it down in any way. And it's the same thing. It includes the Sidekiq worker. Yeah, I think the 49er badge is if you attended the first 18 classes. So we should add more badges. I'll do that. I used the link from RailsSchool, so I don't have it anymore.
Question about, so I think it was Rails 1.2 release. They added active job, something to that effect. How does that interact with Sidekiq?
Sidekiq, I think, would probably do the same thing as active job, but we should look it up.
I think it was for active job. I remember being released
Oh, so you can actually configure Sidekiq to be your active job. So Rails 4.2 introduced active job. It's a standard interface for interacting with job runners. active job can be configured to work with Sidekiq. So Sidekiq is a job runner in this case then.
Oh, so there's multiple.
Yeah, so other things like Sidekiq there's this thing called Rescue, which is like Sidekiq. And there's, I think, one other library that like also does something similar. So you can pick whichever one you like to use. I wonder why, like what active job does.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It adds a folder. So we already have a folder then for app jobs that we can put jobs in. You can like specify how to queue it, and then there's already a perform function. And this allows you to use it in Rails without necessarily like doing anything different. And it gives you some more methods, it seems. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll probably add a badge for maybe like attending 5 classes in a row or something. And so the other thing we have is the Code Wars recorder. So Code Wars is an API request. So here I'm using HTTP party. And I'm doing something very similar to what we just did. I take what I'm inputting into this method is user ID and my Code Wars username. And now I can look up the user by the user ID, including like their Code Wars information, which I'm actually storing in our database. I get what Code War challenges they've completed, and then for each one, I check if like they've completed. I check if there's like a slug and a language associated with that. So each, like a lot of challenges you can do in Ruby, Python, JavaScript, etc. And if both are present, then I create like that Code War as one of the Code Wars you've completed into our database. And once that's up to 5, then the badge allocator gives you a badge. I guess we got through that, even though we had a bunch of challenges fairly quickly. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, there's like even more complex uses of Sidekiq that people have come up with, that they have actually a lot of their like logic that needs to just keep happening on the side, just like happening there. So RailsSchool is like fairly simple as far as Sidekiq users go. And I'm sure, especially with your like application, you can think of lots of things that can just happen on the side that the user doesn't need to wait for.
Yeah. So it seems. Yeah. I guess I do have one question. So it seems like Sidekiq only interact with the backend database and machine as well. But is there a way to interact with the view like after that's done?
I think if you want like, so I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I'd probably look at the Sidekiq wiki. But if you, basically something similar to what we did where we like refresh and it automatically updates something.
Yeah.
That you just never want to store, basically.
Yeah. Or you can store it. So let's say you store it and then you want it to render on the dock.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Let's see. You basically want to update, like, the question has less to do with Sidekiq and has less to do with, like, if something changes in my database, how do I automatically update that in my view? I think Angular could do that.
That's, you got your 5 years for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess it's very specific.
I think Angular is all about that. So if you're using Angular, it should do that.
We recently fixed that problem, so I'm sure we can.
Yeah, you could do polling every X milliseconds, or you could do a scope.apply. And Firebase is another way to do it. Yeah. But yeah, I can see that being a useful thing to incorporate with Sidekiq. Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to do? Maybe we could like do something like store my first 5 images, but I don't know if you guys will learn anything specific through that.
Is there a way to maybe prioritize the things that you render with Sidekiq? I'm assuming you might have multiple things you want to pass in the background, but certain things are more important.
Yeah, actually, there's a really easy way to do that. So we can go back to the Sidekiq wiki. So you can do batches of jobs, but here's, I think, in advanced options. So you can specify things like queue critical. So this basically tells you how important it is, like how important the task is. And then you can specify in your Sidekiq configuration that you want, like, you know, this is actually just a weighting scale. So 7 means like high weight. 5 is like the default weight, and seldom is like the less important weight.
How do you do this? How do you configure it?
It's fairly easy. You just like make a file in
There's like a file you just have to actually.
Sidekiq examples config.yml. So you make a config.yml file and put that in there. Actually, yeah, it's super easy. This is like, there's a better. Oh, here we go. So you just, you just create this file and then let Sidekiq know to use it with this command line. So usually people put it in config, and it's a YML file, and you can decide how many like concurrent workers can work at the same time, and you can also like increase that in your own like Rails like configuration. So I think it's in database. So your database configuration specifies pool. That actually has to do with like how many things can be pinging the database at the same time. So if you're using Sidekiq, you might want to increase that to like 10 or 20 because you know multiple things will be accessing your database. You can have more concurrency in production than in staging because you don't need it, right? So concurrency basically means like how many workers are running at the same time. This explains it. So queue, you can name it. You can also decide whether or not you want it to keep retrying jobs. So if it tries to do something that fails, like I probably don't want it to be retrying jobs when I'm developing, because it's like, well, that would be like a waste of my like, yeah, resources. You can also, I think there's a quick way to log your like, oh, they're called threads, by the way. But there's a quick way to log Sidekiq logs into like a file as well. Because right now, if I run my Rails app, I actually have a logs folder that like stores my logs. But I can also you know, like just configure it to store my Sidekiq logs.
I'm curious if you're like developing, you know, using tests, and then like at first you don't have something rendered on the view, and then later on you do, like how you test it, like for example.
Oh, I
You know
see.
what I mean? Like, 'cause obviously we test it like,
I actually have tests built into RailsSchool to check if someone gets like their Code Wars badge and stuff. So when I made them, I actually checked the database. I didn't check the view. Yeah, so in spec, I think it's an acceptance test. You can also time hop in in tests. I don't know if that would do it though. I think time hop just changes like the current time.
I remember it was about testing.
This checks if the badge is emailed. Oh, I see. So I actually, I actually checked to see if people would get stars next to their name if they completed a code war, which like is a view test, and it checks the code wars every while using the worker, but the test still passed. So I wonder.
Like, what's the point of a test there?
Yeah.
Go test it,
like in my case, it was probably happening fast enough that the test passed, like because it's such a quick HTTP request to see if someone completed that code war. Yeah, I think in this case, you would probably check the database to make sure that like it updated. But I can research into that and let you know on the Etherpad.
What else is cool about
so I had written down some features. Oh, one thing that is important to note is that you're basically working in threads with Sidekiq. So these numbers that I mentioned right here, you can tune the amount of concurrency in your Sidekiq process by. It's not moving? Okay. I feel like I should. Maybe it lost some connection. So basically, you don't want to pass. So there are all these like, when you send. Let me show you the example like as we used it. So here, like, there's information I'm sending basically from my controller back to the worker. So I never want to send information here that's sensitive, like that I don't want anyone else to be able to access, nor do I want to send information that's really large. So instead of like, say I have like a user over here that has like all the things associated with the user, right? I don't want to pass the user to my worker, I'd rather pass my user ID and then find the user myself on the other side so that I'm not sending sensitive information across to the worker. I don't know exactly why, but basically threads are not safe is like the whole if you're using threads that like are working in the background, they're not necessarily like protected or safe as much as like working within your Rails app. That's one thing that I learned while researching this. And I think the other thing I wrote down is for the database configuration that I told you guys about, where people usually make this higher. People usually make it 25 in production, so that you can have 25 threads to the database. Because one Sidekiq worker, I think, is 10 threads. One Sidekiq process creates 25 threads. You can schedule jobs, so you can be like, actually 25 minutes after the user signs up, I want them to get this email. Maybe you want it to be 3 hours later so that if they've logged off, they're like re-signal to log back on if they want, potentially. So for emails, it's really cool because you can schedule specifically like when you want them to get it, without necessarily having to like do that through Mandrill or whatever. You can queue them. You can actually like monitor. So I have an app where like there's a lot of Sidekiq processes running. I can't really show you that because that's a client app, but I could show you maybe RailsSchool. So I'm logged in right now as an admin. So if I go to Sidekiq, I can actually see, oh, we've ran 42,960 processes. So this is like, it comes out of the box with the Sidekiq gem. And it's a view into like me looking at, oh, most of our processes are happening at this time. Like this seems like every time a badge allocator like goes through the people and checks if someone has gotten a badge, there's this many processes run. And all you need to do to incorporate this view is include Sinatra, the Sinatra gem. So we can actually do it really quickly on our app. So I'm going to go to the Sidekiq wiki. And what I want is like the UI. So under monitoring, I can add a web UI. So here I just will do this and require this gem in my gem file. And stop my server and do a bundle install. And then it's really easy to add this like route to your routes file to be able to see this page with all the information you want. So you just copy that code. And that's it. So now if I restart my server and visit the Sidekiq, I can see that, oh, on this date, I actually processed 77 things. 59 of them failed. That was all of the like errors that I had and all the retries after that. So there's 7 retries, 77 processes, 59 failures. This is how much memory was used. So I can get that information so quickly, and I didn't have to do anything. I know that the queue is default for my job. I can stop a job right here. Oh. So again, this shows all the queues. this shows all the, like, maybe I want to kill all the retries because I'm done and I can just kill them. It's really cool. And I just added 3 lines of code to have all this functionality. Yeah, this shows me the errors. It's pretty cool. These are the jobs I killed. And you can, one thing that people sometimes forget is to password protect this. So in RailsSchool, I made this this view only accessible to admins. But otherwise, anyone can just like go to this URL and access your information. Any other questions?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess, are there any like use cases for pulse requests, or you know how like you have like a massive table and there's a bunch of indexes? Like pulse requests could take slightly longer, so like maybe instead of 5 milliseconds, it's
Yeah, I think there's a really good use case for that. So if you
So if you use like Sidekiq for pulse requests, the same as pulse requests.
Yeah, I think you can. I don't know if people regularly do, but Redis basically, as long as the information you're trying to post is not super sensitive, I don't see any harm in doing that, because Redis basically is like a cache storage system that will store like whatever information you send it for like the amount of time needed for the worker to save it. So like I think that's a great use for it. We can also research that. I can look in, so I'll put on my to-do list. View test and using Redis, using Sidekiq for posts. But yeah, I see no reason why you wouldn't be able to, because technically we're doing the same thing right now, right? We're updating, posting something, which is the URL of an image based on like a certain parameter that we're getting through an HTTP request. Cool. So I'd love to get feedback. So let me know what are like good things about the class and bad things about the class. That way I can become a better teacher. Is there any thoughts? Either works. I feel like one bad thing was that we struggled a little bit. We needed to know how to use the database. Anything else? Anything that could be better, like that, like screen size, anything that like bugged you.
I think the only thing that probably would have been like maybe a test case where like the value of that Sidekiq is more obvious. Because in this case, it's just kind of like it was almost instantaneous. But since you had a short amount of time, it's
Yeah, it could have done email. Cool. Anything else? Will you guys use Sidekiq now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to incorporate. Like, it took us 5 minutes once we like figured out that we had to save to the database.
So I have a question. How does it work in production? Is it easy to set up Sidekiq with the Redis database?
Yeah, actually, that's how RailsSchool is running. I didn't do anything special. I did all the same stuff. So I pushed my app to Heroku. And then there's a way that you can run Sidekiq through Heroku. So I did that. Yeah. And you don't need to like, actually, so our badge worker was already set up. So when I added the Code Wars worker, I didn't need to do anything. Like, I didn't need to really restart anything. So when I pushed, the one caveat is that we actually have a worker application. So because we need like another server to run the background jobs, we actually have another Heroku app for that. Yeah. Yeah. So you'll see like my Heroku apps.
So if you want to run this, you're going to have to have 2 Heroku apps.
Yes. So here I have RailsSchool San Francisco, and then I have the worker.
Wait, sorry, I didn't really get that. Why do you need 2 separate apps?
So I didn't set up the RailsSchool one, but I think the purpose is so that the Redis server runs based off of this application for us. Based off of the worker application. So once we push the code to the worker starts working off of the new code. And then we also push it live after that. I don't have a good answer to this. I'm just gonna quickly look it up. Yeah, so using Sidekiq with Heroku is simple. You need to use the default Cedar stack and add a proc file to your Rails app to start a Sidekiq worker process. So we have that proc file set up on our worker application so that it doesn't use the same bandwidth as our Rails server. Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. I still have suggestions from old classes, so I still need to do Intro to Rails 2 and kind of finish the to-do list. And then if you have any other suggestions for classes that you came up with since then, let me know. I can add it to the list.
Where's the list?
I just have it on Etherpad.
Okay.
So if you have one right now, I'm happy to write it down.
Oh, some suggested classes?
Yeah, like any topics. Or you could write it too.
I'll probably say like learn like data structure maybe that kind of
like SQL versus Postgres, or
no, just like say like you want to grab it from a controller to the model, like how would you want to see, for example, say like somebody's wall, right? Like people place comments, but on Facebook you can hide some comments. Well, just like say, oh, I have all these comments, so how would you like, hide some of these comments for these users and show all these comments? It's just like manipulating data.
Okay, so showing different data to different people.
Yeah.
That could be like the can gem, which basically like can group different users into buckets and then show different users different things. So Pundit?
Yeah, we have
and then also I'm just gonna write how to manipulate data in the view generally, like in the controllers and models to the view. Any other topics of interest?
Associations, but sometimes that can be kind of like, when you create a table, it's like for example, like I have a table for users, right? And sometimes users can leave comments like color like what do you say, like a photo comment. And then sometimes the user can make comments so like, oh, that's just the color of it small instead of like,
yeah. So polymorphism.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote associations, has many belongs to, join tables, and polymorphism.
Right.
I think that's a great topic. Anything else?
Yeah, I was maybe so the thing I struggle with, where I feel like for me it's like where I'm like stuck is like being able to like be more skilled with like coding my models and like abstracting like my controller logic. Like you don't have to talk to your controller, you know, like see controllers. Like, but then understanding like how to do it in like models and helpers. I think that's the hard thing. I don't know how what class would be.
Okay, maybe something where you're like manipulating a lot of data before showing it, which would cover like data structures a little bit.
And best practices, it's like just write like method apples, like you're doing anything wrong, like to help improve it, like refactoring.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else? You guys should do the Code Wars exercise at some point.
Sorry, this is like my first time coming here.
Oh, okay.
So how does it know? I was reading it from the same email.
Let me show you guys.
You have to log in or something.
So there's a two-step process so that I know you've done a Code Wars exercise. I don't know why it's not. Oh, here we go. Cool. What you do is go to this website called codewars.com. And you make an account. So for me, is Bartia. And then I went to RailsSchool, and I clicked on my name once I was logged in. And then I can edit my profile. And after clicking edit, I can change my CodeWords username. And then save that. And then for every class, we'll usually assign like a CodeWars challenge. So here it says, hey, be sure to complete this Code Wars challenge before class. So I can click it and the specific challenge that I've assigned, which in this case was like making a sentence out of an array of like things. So then I like write code here. You just hit I to like get into insert mode because it's like Vim, which is an editor on your computer, and you can write stuff. And then you can run tests. So right now my tests are gonna fail. And it tells you, hey, I was expecting hello world, but I got nil. So 0 test pass, 1 failed. And then I can like submit the code once I've written it, and it'll give me good solutions. I'm like, yeah. And then if you did complete it for a given class, see, like as the teacher of a class, like when I look at this class, for example, I'll see stars next to people who completed the Code Wars. So like I did it, so I get a star. So if you guys were to do the same thing, I would see stars next to your names. Yeah, if you like complete it successfully, the code war, like you run tests and they all pass and you submit it, then you'll get a star. And I'm going to close out the Hangout.